An alcohol enforcement operation at the North Dakota State Fair led to the sheriff's office uncovering multiple violations and arresting a fairgoer. On July 24th, the Ward County Sheriff's Office did a shoulder tap operation where an 18-year-old woman working for the office asked people to buy alcohol for her. A report from the sheriff's office states deputies arrested one person purchasing and delivering the drinks for the undercover woman. They also checked on 9 separate areas on the fairgrounds where alcohol was being dispensed and 2 other spots where fairgoers could buy tickets to exchange for alcoholic drinks. The sheriff's office says 2 of the dispensing locations and both ticket booths failed. Now, Captain Jason Kraft with the sheriff's office says the checks were conducted across the entire fairgrounds, but the violations occurred at the grandstand. He says the arrest occurred outside of the Flickertail Garden. We reached out to State Fair management for comment. General Manager Craig Rudland says they hire M&S Concessions, a third-party company that oversees alcohol sales.